Breaking news! The Ravens are being linked to a potential trade that could completely reshape the identity of their defense and perhaps, who knows, shake up the entire AFC. But here's the twist. The move fans crave might not be the smartest one. What if I told you that one of the 3 trade targets could actually hurt Baltimore more than help it? This isn't just another offseason rumor. It's a warning sign and a window of opportunity. The question is, will Eric DeCosta take the risk? But before we get into this bombshell news, don't forget to like this post if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you want, comment, "Go Ravens," to show you're with us, no matter what. Now let's get right into it. The Baltimore Ravens are facing a pivotal offseason, and Bleacher Report just threw gasoline on the fire by listing 3 defensive linemen the Ravens should consider trading for. And this isn't just a casual suggestion, it's a direct challenge to how the front office views the current state of the roster, especially that interior defensive line. Let's be real here, the defensive line was a problem in 2025. It lacked consistency, push, and, most importantly, depth. So when a report lists Javon Hargrave, Kenny Clark, and Lucas Van Ness as potential trade targets, you can't just ignore that. We're talking about a potential identity shift in the trenches. Let's start with Javon Hargrave. This one has real weight. Hargrave played all 16 games for the Minnesota Vikings last season and finished with 52 total tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. That's production, not potential. That's experience, not projection. And here's the thing. Of all the options discussed, Hargrave is the only one who fills a critical need without asking you to completely mortgage your future. Think about it. Travis Smith is expected to return in 2026. Expected, not guaranteed. After that, what do you have? A weak interior line that simply couldn't hold its own last season. Bringing in Hargrave could patch that hole immediately. He can help stop the run and collapse the pocket from the inside, something this team desperately needs. Jesse Minter wants to build this defense from the inside out. This is how you do it. Now let's talk Kenny Clark. The name carries weight, no doubt. He was part of a blockbuster deal that sent Micah Parsons to Green Bay. And yes, he's had moments, including a 7.5 sack season back in 2022 that earned him a huge contract. But here's the problem. Since then, just 4 sacks over the last 2 years combined. That's not elite. That's not even consistent. And for what he'd cost, both in trade compensation and the massive salary he carries, it just doesn't add up for Baltimore. You'd have to part ways with meaningful draft capital and then take on a big financial hit for a player who might already be past his peak. The Ravens have too many key free agents to justify that kind of move. Is Kenny Clark worth losing younger, ascending talent just to roll the dice? That's a tough sell. And finally, there's Lucas Van Ness. This one feels like a forced fit. A first-round pick back in 2023, Van Ness played just 9 games last season for Green Bay and ended with 1.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 0 forced fumbles. That's not enough. Not when you're trying to win now. He was dealing with injuries, yes, but it's starting to look like the Packers saw enough to move on eventually. This isn't a buy low opportunity, it's a long-term project. And Baltimore doesn't have the luxury of waiting on projects. If the Packers cut him next year and he hits free agency, sure, maybe you consider him as a depth piece. But trading for him now? No way. It's not just a waste of resources, it's a distraction from what really matters. So the question becomes, which of these moves makes sense for Baltimore? Only one of them. Hargrave is the move that actually helps right now, without the baggage of a declining contract or an unproven resume. The others? Too expensive, too risky, or just plain unnecessary. Now, shifting gears, there's another layer to this. The Ravens aren't just building a roster, they're building a new regime. Jesse Minter is in, and his fingerprints are already all over this staff. Hiring Declan Doyle as offensive coordinator? Huge. Bringing back Anthony Weaver in a senior role to work within Minter's system? Even bigger. And this continuity matters, especially on defense. Because Minter doesn't just bring scheme, he brings results. His defenses in Los Angeles finished top 10. And when you compare the talent in LA to what he has in Baltimore, with a guy like Kyle Hamilton anchoring the secondary, the ceiling is even higher. The pieces are there. But as we look to free agency and the draft, the question becomes, what's next? What's the one move that turns this defense from solid to dominant? Because here's where things really start to get interesting. If Eric DeCosta and the Ravens do pull the trigger on a guy like Javon Hargrave, it's not just about adding a productive veteran, it's a loud, clear message to the rest of the AFC. Baltimore is going all in. Again. And why wouldn't they? You've got Lamar Jackson in his prime. You just signed Derrick Henry. This offense is ready to explode under Declan Doyle. But if you want to make a serious run, not just to the playoffs, but to the Super Bowl, you must fix the defensive interior. Think about how last season ended. When the Ravens needed to get stops against high-powered offenses, especially late in games, that defensive front just couldn't hold. They were getting pushed back, losing contain, struggling to generate pressure without blitzing. And if you look at the postseason picture, teams like the Chiefs, Bengals, and Bills, they thrive when your defensive line wears down. Hargrave doesn't wear down. He's been durable, consistent, and he produces even when the scheme isn't built around him. Just imagine what Jesse Minter could do with that kind of chess piece on the line. But the Ravens aren't operating in a vacuum. Every move this offseason is a balancing act between win now and sustain success long term. That's why moves like Kenny Clark's are so controversial. Yes, he has the name recognition, but football is a what have you done lately league. And lately, Kenny Clark hasn't looked like the dominant player he once was. You want to pay big money for 4 sacks across 2 seasons? Especially with guys like Justin Matabike's future in flux? That doesn't feel like a Ravens move. Not when they could instead use that money to extend Tyler Linderbaum, a player who's projected to command a deal in the $70 million range, and solidify the offensive line for years to come. And speaking of Linderbaum, let's be clear, he's not a luxury, he's a necessity. The Ravens already have question marks at both guard spots. They can't afford instability at center too. If they let him walk in free agency, they will get outbid. It's that simple. So if we're talking cap priorities, is Kenny Clark really worth risking your long-term stability on the O-line? Let's go deeper. Jesse Minter's defense is predicated on pressure without overcommitting. That means you need smart, disruptive interior linemen who can plug gaps and collapse the pocket. Hargrave fits that mold better than Clark or Van Ness ever could. He's not a flashy name, but he's a Ravens kind of player, gritty, physical, intelligent, and experienced. If this front office is as strategic as we know they are, that's the move that aligns perfectly with both Minter's system and DeCosta's long-term planning. And that brings us to the fan sentiment. There's been a lot of chatter around what feels like the right move. Some fans still wonder if the Ravens should chase a splash at edge rusher. Names like Trey Hendrickson have come up, but let's be honest, he's 31. He missed most of last year with back issues. Do you really want to roll the dice on another aging pass rusher when your current group is already filled with young, developmental guys? And if you are going to bring in a vet, wouldn't you rather invest in someone who hasn't missed that much time due to injury? It's decisions like these that will define this offseason. And DeCosta knows it. This is a crucial moment, especially with a new coaching staff in place. Declan Doyle is going to bring a different energy to the offense, more tempo, more variety, and hopefully, a more balanced attack. But he can't do it alone. If you want to keep Lamar upright, keep Derrick Henry rolling downhill, and open up this offense to its full potential, then you need stability in the trenches. That's where re-signing Linderbaum comes into play. That's where avoiding an expensive misstep like Kenny Clark becomes essential. The Ravens are walking a tightrope, and so far, they're doing it with calculated steps. No desperation, no unnecessary fireworks, just smart, measured decisions. But the next move, whether it's Hargrave, a draft day surprise, or a low-key signing that pays off big, could be the one that defines the 2026 season. And that brings us to the big question for the flock. Do you trust Eric DeCosta to make the right call on who to bring into this defensive front? Should he go after Javon Hargrave? Play it safe with the draft? Or is there a name we're not even talking about that could shake things up? Let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, if you made it this far, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more exclusive Ravens coverage, and check out the other videos on screen right now. We'll be back soon with more updates from Owings Mills. Until then, go Ravens!